The cause is important, the people who give the money. And our life is not about you. Now, I could go on for 8 hours about this, but I won't, because I think there's a big difference between enthusiasm and motivation. And our job is not to enthuse donors. Our job is to motivate them. And I think if we are enthusing donors, we are the ones expending our energy. We are the ones who are making it happen. We are the ones who are giving that drive into fundraising, making people believe in it, making people want to do it. And that's great, and it works for a bit, and it's brilliant. But what it does is it sucks the life out of you. And eventually you end up as a crumpled heap sobbing on the floor in the corner of your office, because you just can't keep doing it forever. Our challenge, I would suggest, as fundraisers is about motivating people, motivating the donors so that they have the energies themselves. You're not in control. I am a trustee of a charity. Golly, it's interesting, being a trustee as well as a fundraiser. As a fundraiser, and just about as a trustee, I've always argued fundraisers do not guarantee money. And I think trustees would love us if we did. Oh, right, we're appointing them, or we've got that voluntary committee, and they will raise so-and-so. I don't think we do, I'll be honest. I think we reduce the risks. Lessen the odds. We don't guarantee success. I think it's very, very important for our charities that it is quite clear that the ones in control are the ones who are giving the money. We are the ones who are the conduit, the means of enabling the money to be given, but it is the donors that are in control. And finally, you're going to die. And if you're going to die, well, let's not faff around, shall we? Let's make something of our lives. Let's make the best we possibly can of it. Let's make the world a better place because of what we've done and who we are. And on that theme, I want to talk about divine compost. Who's that smashing-looking chap? Well, it's me. It's me when I was 2 or 3. I've already told my mother off. She is here, so I'm only telling her off again for her complete irresponsibility as a parent. Because look at that shocking blonde hair and those suntan knees. Clearly, I was exposed to sunshine far too much as a child. And what about those shoes? They're a bit worrying. Probably explain a lot. Anyway, I was and am one of 4 boys. My mum had 4 boys in 5 years. Whew, get that, eh? And one of the consequences of that is that, frankly, you never get a word in edgeways. Life is busy and chaos. And so one of the things I used to do is I used to go and stay with my grandparents. My granddad and my grandma. I am the little baby. They're held by my grandma. And that's my teddy as well, by the way, that granddad's got. And I used to stay with my grandparents and loved it. They lived in Dewsbury. Grandma's still alive, actually. And had a routine about it. We'd go and watch Dewsbury Rugby League Club lose at rugby. I never, ever saw them win, which is quite an achievement. One of my favourite jokes was taught there. There was one player, they always called him Bungalow. That was his nickname. I remember saying to my granddad once, "Granddad, why is he called Bungalow?" He said, because he's got nothing up top. Isn't that a great line? And anyway, we had these rituals and these ways of doing things. And my granddad taught me divine compost. He was divine compost, and I think if we can understand and get our heads around divine compost, our fundraising is transformed. Now, one of the things he taught I loved to do was play 5s and 3s. Dominoes was a big, big ritual. And when I played, I loved the fact that ordinarily I would beat my granddad 5-4. I really liked that. When you're 9 or 10, that's a big deal. And I would go whooping around the lounge. I've beaten granddad again. Ha ha! Here I am, 9. And look at him, old. And I've beaten him. And I loved it. And it wasn't until much, much, much older that I realized my granddad had deliberately lost. Because he liked seeing me win. And he liked seeing the joy of winning. Okay, fast forward a generation. I'm on holiday in France with my kids. And we discover in the cottage there's a table football table. And my kids are bonkers about table football. They love it. Well, you're going to be amazed to find this out. You would not believe how many times my kids beat me 5-4 at table football. Because I'd learned from my granddad about the thrill and the joy of winning. You can't win all the time, but it's certainly important to win sometimes. The point about divine compost, and it is actually genuinely, bizarrely, a theological term, the whole essence of it is that we influence people and we change people by who we are and what we do. And so to a certain extent, we never really die, because the changes that we've made in others will remain in those other people, and indeed they will hand on those changes. So in terms of our virtues, when we are honourable, when we are good, when we are generous, when we are kind, we are exhibiting those values and those virtues to others, to those who know and to love us. And it gives those other people a chance to learn from them, adopt them, and take them on too. And I think that's fantastic for us as fundraisers, because so often we're under such pressure to raise money. It's all about money, isn't it? It's all about the bottom line. We need this money, and of course we do need this money. And sometimes it's easy for us to forget that we're changing lives. We're encouraging people to be better people. We're encouraging them to be generous and to be kind. And in being generous and kind, they are transforming communities, and they're an example to all those that they know and they love. And if you have children, you will know this and you will see this, that their attitudes and their behaviours are completely influenced by those around them. Divine Compost says something to us as fundraisers. It says, yes, of course we're asking people for money, but if we want to transform society in the way that we all do, we have to start with the people. And we have to give them the means and the ability and the facility to go and become the generous, good, kind and compassionate people that they want to be. So that's one side of Divine Compost. We are encouraging people to be divine. We are encouraging people to exhibit the values that our society holds dear. The other side to Divine Compost is that very often when I've worked for fundraisers, we tend to focus almost exclusively on the direct beneficiaries of the charity that we work for. When I worked in a hospice, there's a lovely story. I met a lovely lady. She came into the hospice feeling completely miserable. She had a terminal illness, but the medication she had made her feel dreadful. We do have some fantastic doctors there, real specialists in their field. They changed the medication, she felt transformed. So much so she went home. Quality in the days of her life. It's a fantastic story, isn't it? It's a great charity case study. This is the difference that we can make. If we're going to abide by Divine Compost, though, there's more to it than that. Because I know that because she was able to go home, she went to her granddaughter's birthday party, which she never thought she would get to. Again, that's fantastic for the patient. But what about the granddaughter? What about the events that happen because of that, which wouldn't have happened otherwise? What about the conversations? What about the memories? What about that ability to change and to transform? And so often as charities, we focus on the direct and on the immediate and on the stuff right in front of us. But I was delighted when this book was published by an organisation called the Directory of Social Change, because I think that's what we're about. Divine Compost says, don't look too narrow. Look at the breadth of what we're doing as an organisation. Look at the breadth of the impact that we're making. On the one hand, we as fundraisers are encouraging people to be good people, to be kind, to be generous. That's fantastic. But equally, we are also encouraging, we are transforming not just individuals, but society and community at large. That must be really important. So that's the inspirational stuff. But I suggest this is the reality for most of us when we're looking to raise money. Do you have any money? Nope. All truths about the world actually are found in Calvin and Hobbes, if you haven't yet read them, and be delighted by them. The last thing I want to say then is about, because fundraising is tough and it's difficult, how do we make it work? I want to introduce you to this person here. And forgive me, I'm going to have to read this out because I can't do it justice. This is from, the story is from a book called Bounce by Matthew Syed. It's a fantastic book. He was a Commonwealth Gold table tennis champion. And his whole book is about what makes people excellent, what makes them exceptional. And he tells this lovely story. This is Shizuka Arakawa. And this is a quick CV. She was the first skater in Japan to win 3 consecutive junior national titles. She won Japanese national in 1998 and 1999. When she was 16 years old, she represented Japan in the 1998 Winter Olympics and finished at 13th. She won the Asian Winter Games and Winter Universiade during the 2002-2003 season. The following season, she won the 2004 World Championships in Dortmund, Germany, and at the 2006 Winter Turin Olympics, she broke her personal best scores both in short program and free skating. And she became the first Olympic gold medalist in Asia. She's also the first Japanese skater winning both World Championships and Olympics. In order to achieve this level of success, and this is the really important point, this is the thing I want to leave you with, it is estimated that she fell over 20,000 times. 20,000 times she fell over on an ice skating rink. I find that completely remarkable. Matthew Syed's point is, it is not the falling over that matters. It is the getting up that matters. The truly exceptional are the people who have learned to cope with disaster, with disappointment, and have turned it around and have got back on their feet and done it again. 20,000 times of falling over. How often do we fail at fundraising? Our job is to pick ourselves up, get back on and say, I'm going to try it again. So just some things to leave you with in terms of the myth of talent. I love this statistic. If you want to be genuinely world-class at something, you have to do 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. Okay, so if you have ambitions to be a world-class fundraiser, there you go. That's what you've got to set yourself. I like the idea of 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. Stress the word purposeful. I did 10,000 hours of football practice with my brother in my back garden. I am not David Beckham. And the reason is simple. All I did was do what I knew I could do. It's that challenging, it's that pushing ourselves. How good are we at fundraisers at doing that? Pushing ourselves beyond that which we would expect to do. The other interesting thing, and I read somewhere that a fundraiser, if they're a paid fundraiser, they tend to stay in their job for no more than 18 months on average. That's interesting because Matthew Syed would argue that one of the key factors of being excellent is to know your stuff. He calls it domain expertise, but a real profound understanding of the sector and the organisation you work for and the difference that it makes. Thirdly, as I was saying, failure is an inevitable part of the process of succeeding. That's so important that we look at it and think we're just going to learn from it. It's about our attitude. It's about how we respond to these things. Fourthly, feedback loops. Feedback loops is today. A feedback loop is fantastic because it gives you an opportunity to learn. It's a way of being able to discuss and debate and make best advantage of that today. Discuss and debate and learn from your colleagues and your peers. There's so much we can learn from each other. One suggestion, one charity I work for, we had near-miss forms, very bureaucratic. So you would write down, oh, that one nearly went wrong. Oh, God, that was close. Gee, whoo-hoo. And we'd have meetings about it. Gee, that one nearly went. And I remember I hated these meetings. They were so depressing. And I said, it's interesting, isn't it? We've got near-miss forms. We don't have near-hit forms, do we? We don't talk, when we've done a fundraising event, we don't talk about what we could have done, which would have been even more successful. We don't record that stuff. So the guy who was doing who was selling the burgers, when he said, yeah, it was all right for selling them for 50p, but everybody would have paid £1. We don't record that kind of stuff. So how are your feedback loops? How are you enabling? So near hits. What could we do next time which would make it even better? And the final one, I love this, is expert-induced amnesia. This is what we should all aim for, everybody. We get so good at it, we don't even know we're doing it. We sense it so profoundly, and we just simply know. And I've been in jobs, for organisations where I've had to say to my boss, I just know. I just know it's going to work. And sometimes we can't articulate it, and we can't explain why. We just know that it will. So, I'm almost done. But in terms of my message, I suppose, today, first message, please buy my book. Only kidding, I'm not. But the first message is to remember that what we're doing is important, okay? And that it's tough. Stop beating ourselves up when we find it hard. We should find it hard. It is hard. The second thing is to remember how important it is what we're doing. What we're doing is not just about the immediate money in front of us. We're about transforming communities. We're about transforming societies. That's what charities exist for, and that's why we're part of them. And to do that is a fantastic and an honourable thing. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy the conference.